What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your opening drive for Hate Week. We will be recapping an absolute drubbing that occurred in the shoe yesterday. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate, and we are here for you guys and brought to you by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy and Cornerstone Home Remodeling. How was your week, sir?
It was all right, man. No complaints. Um, you know, was nervous about Saturday, all day Friday at work. Like that's all I could think about was the game. But other than that, it was good. I had to just purchase a new furnace. That was a early Christmas present for the Slater house. But other than that, man, things are good, man. How about you?
It was a good week. It was a good week. Nothing too exciting. Um, got a couple of pretty sweet things done for us that everybody's going to get to hear later
Yeah,
this week.
yeah.
So really excited about that. Shout out to the guys that we worked with on that. But I mean, let's get right into it because it was obviously the game of the week on paper. And more pundits picked the Buckeyes to lose this game than I would have ever imagined. Because
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know that I would say I was nervous, but like I spent all week, checking, just looking at things. You're just trying to get a feel for the lay of the land, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, man. I was really shocked by that too. I obviously Indiana's a good team. We knew that. We knew Coach Signetti was going to have them ready to go. But yeah, I felt like because the Buckeyes have like controlled each game that they've been in, since the Oregon loss, and they haven't been putting up 40, 50, points. People are all like kind of like maybe they're not that dominant of a team. But if you go back and you look at the film, man, it's just like they are in control of every game. Even being down 10-0 against Penn State, they were in control of that game after they scored their first touchdown. Like I had zero doubt that they were going to lose that game. You know what I mean? So like I was pretty shocked by that. And another thing too, Desmond Howard. Like I know we're in hate week now, and I know he's ramping it up a little bit more. He's doing his job because he's getting a reaction out of me. But Pat McAfee, College Game Day crew, they catered all this food in from different places in Columbus, and this dude packs his lunch. And I get it, but I was like, that's corny, man. That's such a cornball move. But of course, it's Desmond Howard. That's what I expect from him.
I
So
can't even say anything to him on Twitter because he blocked me like 10 years ago because he's soft. SAWFT soft. Him and Brett Bielema both have zero skin.
yeah,
At the end of the day, Desmond's a clown. And you saw it yesterday when he picked Indiana to win. And Nick Saban literally said, wow. McAfee, I get it. You live in Indiana. You played for the Colts. I get it. And McAfee's good at his job. A lot of people don't like McAfee, but
yeah,
McAfee is there to be the personality. And he does his job and he does it well. You got to remember in the offseason, this dude works in the WWE
yeah,
and that's how he got to where he is with his shtick of being over the top, somewhat annoying, but he's entertaining. I
yeah.
will give McAfee a pass. Corso, I'll give him a pass. You coached Indiana. You're not picking against them.
No,
Brutus might be your first love, as you say. But like Rick Neuheisel, the dude's on CBS. The number of times that I heard this game is not going to be too big for Indiana. And even Signetti, and the most humble moment the guy's ever had in his life, acknowledged the moment was too big.
absolutely, absolutely. And you could tell it on the field. Like there were just certain things that you could see. And one thing that Coach Meyer said before the game on the Big Noon kickoff, and this is something that like I live by this. There's something about walking on the field and looking across the field and seeing guys that you're bigger than, and it gives you a sense of confidence. Urban said that when he was down on the field, he said there was a distinct size difference. And he said once he saw that, he felt extremely good about this game. And that's not a knock on Coach Signetti or their strength program or anything like that.
No.
They brought in 27 transfers. Like, this is a completely revamped offense, completely revamped defense, completely revamped everything. And so the fact that they were 10-0 going into this game is just phenomenal to even think about. But the idea that talent for talent, they would be able to stack up with the Buckeyes, the idea that Ohio State doesn't have one of the best coaches in the country, that Ohio State doesn't have one of the best coordinators, best one of the best offensive minds ever. Same thing with the defense coordinator, Coach Knowles. Like, it's just like it was just blatant disrespect, in my opinion. But the good guys took care of business, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
And took care of business they did. 38-15, against an Indiana squad. And we hit on this, earlier in the week, that their schedule was Charmin. Averaging 43.9 points a game. And you come in here and score 15 after you talk all that mess. And again, I'm all for Signetti hyping his team up. But you made it personal. When, talk your trash about Purdue at your pep rally. Tressel called his shot against the team up north at his introduction. That's what you do to show the fan base that you're serious. But he just never stopped. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but the chip that this program is carrying on its shoulder is extremely scary for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Because now you have the most talented roster, potentially the best coaching staff, and an attitude problem. Watch out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the way that they're playing right now. I love the chip that they have on their shoulders. I love the fact that as soon as the game was over, their minds instantly went to the team up north. There was, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to celebrate this. Like, no, they were, hey, we did what we thought we were going to do this game. We came out, we controlled the game, and now it's time to turn that page because this is why we came back for this week. And so I love the business mindset. We said it a few weeks ago, man. Like, these guys are about business, and I love seeing that. I love seeing Will Howard as the leader of this team, as the person who was out in front speaking, talking about the importance of winning a game like this and the importance of getting ready for, Hate Week. I love seeing, Quinshawn and all those transfers who came in, the few that we have, like, that are fully bought into this, want to take care of business for their brothers, want to take care of business for the guys who decided to come back, and they were not going to let themselves lose to Indiana. And so that idea of this coaching staff, sometimes people say it's overrated, sometimes people say Ryan Day's overrated. It's just mind blowing. And I think, for Coach Signetti and the Indiana staff to add more fuel to that fire, like, I felt pretty confident about it. And so I'm just glad the Buckeyes came out and did what they needed to do, right? And they took care of business in dominating fashion. And it really sets us up going into the last week of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, the offense didn't do anything outstanding, but they don't have to when the defense does what they did yesterday.
Yeah.
There's no other word except they literally stifled the Hoosiers. 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks.
Yeah.
Fewest yards allowed against a Big Ten opponent since 2021. The defense gave up 151 yards.
Yep.
70 of those were on the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
Curtis Rorick, who a lot of people had said is better than Will Howard, 8 completions. Let me pull the numbers here real quick. He was 8 of 18 for 68 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, granted, the defense did a very good job of making him very uncomfortable. And we talked about that too. We saw that in the Michigan tape, that if you get to him, he makes mistakes. Yeah. And my man did not look comfortable at all.
Absolutely. Did not look comfortable. And that was what the Buckeyes needed to do. right? This was an offense that was averaging over 460 yards a game. Curtis Rourke came in as one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country, throwing for close to 300 yards, if not over 300 yards. And so that was what made this offense go. They're athletes out on the edge, making those big plays. I mean, you saw it against Nebraska, a few weeks ago. You saw it even against at the first drive of the Team Up North game last week. Or 2 weeks ago, you saw their receivers going up and make big plays on that first drive. And so that's what really drove their offense. And so the Buckeyes identified that and knew that that's what they had to take away first, right? You saw that the run game had some they did all right. They're both the running backs average over 4 yards a carry. But the Buckeyes knew if we could win first down and get them in second and long, right, we would be in a position to make Curtis Rourke uncomfortable. And Jim Knowles was fully, cooking with hot grease, man. Like he was on fire. And it was just cool to see the creativeness get back into this defense. I had a couple people say something to me today and yesterday after the game, like, oh man, it's about time, we've really started doing these pressures. It's like we've been doing these since the Oregon game. Like the pressure packages, the personnel changes, all those things have ramped up. He's just not emptying the clip, right? He's designing things based on who we're facing. And he saw something with the Michigan film, a couple things that I saw as well, with the twists and the knots and the loops and getting the linebackers involved in the stunts. Like it was overwhelming for their offense. And once you start getting pressure up the middle, now he's got to try to escape outside. And when JT is playing the way that he was playing, watch out. When Jack's playing the way that he's playing, when you try to escape outside, those opportunities aren't going to be there. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to step up, and Cody Simon's right there in your face. Sonny Styles is in your face. There was one, Lorenzo Styles came on a pressure, was right there on the forced fumble. And so there were just a lot of good things that the defense did, man. The other thing that they did, they eliminated the big play. These games are vital for no big plays down the field. You can give up a drive. You can go down and take a 12-play, 70-play drive and score. They had some things go their way on that drive too, right? Can you do that for an entire game? And that's what the Buckeyes were really forcing them to do. I thought it was a great game plan for them defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody Simon, 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks, forced fumble. Sonny Styles, 8 tackles, a TFL. JTT and Jack combined for 9 tackles, 2.5 sacks. If you're getting that type of production, and Indiana's left tackle is a stud.
Yeah.
We wanted him in Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you all you need to know. The other thing I'll say, obviously we called it. Your boy IGB got picked on. But the other caveat to that is for all the hate that Denzel Burke has gotten since the Oregon game. You didn't hear Denzel Burke's name yesterday.
No.
And that's because they didn't throw at him.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't throw at him. And listen, IGB is one of my favorite players on this team. Like, I love the guy. You don't want to take away his aggression. But at some point, you have to understand now you have a target on your back. Each game, in this high school, college, middle school, it doesn't matter what level you coach. Each game, the refs come over and they talk to you about, player equipment. They introduce themselves. They talk about all these different things. Before you leave that meeting, you tell the refs, hey, they have an unbalanced formation. I think in its illegal formation, this is what it looks like. Make sure you're paying attention to it when it happens, right? Or in our case, they have a corner who is real physical and real handsy, and it's almost borderline holding every single play. Make sure you're really paying attention to that. And now it's in the referee's head. So now when they see you being that aggressive, flags are going to be thrown. IGB, the first, maybe it was the second pass interference, was in such a good spot. Like if he just gets his head around, he had won the rep. Just get your head around. And now you're in phase. You can get an interception. I know Coach Walton is going to work with him on that. But my guy, you got to get it together. I love the fact that when IGB or Denzel is not playing the greatest or they're getting themselves in trouble, Jermaine Matthews is in the next series. And that's the way it should be. Why should it be that way? Because Jermaine Matthews was a freshman All-American. You can't keep him on the sideline. And I love the fact that over the last, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whenever Denzel or IGB has messed up, Jermaine is in the game the very next series. And I love the fact that those guys are willing to take that on the chin, understand like, hey, this is what I've done. I messed up. Jermaine deserves to be out there. Let him go eat. You know what I mean? And so I just IGB, we got to get together. All right, I still love you, but we got to cut back because eventually it's going to cost us in a big moment, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, I mean, luckily this week, the team we're playing doesn't remember the forward pass exists for the most part, so it should be a week where IGB can work on technique.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously one thing offensively before we dive into the normal stuff, the O-line is going to be just fine. There were some hiccups yesterday, but there are going to be.
Yep.
I can't think of the guy's name for Indiana, single-digit number, but he's really good.
He's really good.
And he made some plays.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing wrong with players making plays.
Yeah.
Let me look real quick.
And the guy you're talking about, I forget his name as well, but he's a transfer from Kent State. And one of the reasons why he was such a popular and hot commodity in the transfer portal is because he wreaks havoc in the backfield. He creates a ton of penetration. There was one play where he completely destroyed Tegra, right? Exposed Tegra's flaws in every single way and was able to tackle Quinshawn in the backfield for a 4-yard loss. The kid can play. They were only giving up 69 yards rushing a game, right? Against the team up north, which is ground and pound. That's what they do. That's what they have to do. Unfortunately, with the way their quarterback situation is, they held them to under 70 yards rushing last week. And so for the Buckeyes to actually be able, I mean, we rushed for 116 yards. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but if a team's giving up less than 70 yards a game and you're able to go rush for over 100, that's a good day, right? Obviously, we would like it to be higher. The Buckeyes, I was pulling up the stats, we're averaging 177 yards rushing a game. I'd like to see us be closer to that number. But the fact that we were able to run the ball when we needed to, like that is something that is good. The other thing is, like you said with the offensive line, this was the first game that this unit was together. All right. They will improve. They will get better. I thought they both, Carson and Austin Saraville did a really good job, represented themselves well. They did. I thought they played well. Tegra left a little to be desired, but, look at the film, get back out there. Next week's a big week. You got two dudes that are going to be lining up on you that are dogs. So you're going to have to, buckle up your chin strap and have a good week. But offensive line wise, like if I was giving them a grade, I'd probably give them a B-. It wasn't terrible. There were some good things, especially in pass pro and the run game. It got better as the game went on. So I'm not going to complain much about the offensive line.
No, and I mean, I don't put a whole lot of stock into PFF, but Hensman and Saraville were the two highest ranked linemen score-wise for Ohio State.
Yeah.
We talked about the defense, and to kind of circle back and just put this in perspective, that first drive of the game, Indiana went 11 plays, 70 yards. Their next drive, so we'll just rattle them off. 8 yards, minus 7 yards, minus 27 yards, minus 2 yards. We come out of the half, 2 yards, 8 yards, 32 yards, minus 11. And then you get into the fourth quarter where Ohio State was putting some subs in and they got the garbage time touchdown, 75-yard drive, which brings me to my next subject. They scored the garbage time touchdown. They go for 2. That tells me they're still playing football. Travion busts the long run, slides down, tries to eat time. Ryan Day calls quarterback power the next 2 plays.
Yeah.
I know we might have differing opinions on this. I no joke, as soon as that touchdown happens, I get a text. That was Bush League, bro. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Why? I go, yes, they didn't call the timeout. But they were still playing. They went for 2. And at the end of the day, they made it personal.
Yeah.
Was it running up the score? Maybe. But if you don't think that we're in that same situation this week, Ryan Day is scoring and he's going for 2. We have seen a new Ryan Day. And you've seen a new staff. And we hit on this a little bit earlier, but to go a little deeper into it, Brian Hartline, after the game, Brian Hartline is a quiet dude.
Yeah.
Tweets out, do you national personalities not watch film? This game went exactly how we thought it was going to go. What am I missing?
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, everybody talks about the Buckeyes being the most hated team in the country, and I get it. I understand. Some of us as fans can be outlandish, absurd, right? We want to fire Ryan Day every other week. I get it. We can be crazy. But this year, and even the last 3 years, Ryan Day has been disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
So bad. I mean, it is crazy. I get it, right? Some of it is warranted, not winning the big games and things like that. But this year specifically, he went out and did what he had to do, not to go get, these a million transfers out of the portal. No, he got 3 big ones, and those 3 have helped us tremendously. All of our NIL funds, the majority of our NIL funds went to retaining our guys, right? That gets often overlooked. And the fact that you were able to convince a Denzel Burke, a JT, Jack Sawyer, all these guys, Emeka Ibuka, who was going to be a first-round pick for sure, to come back, that lets me know that you are doing something right and the players respect you, right? Now, he needed people like Chip Kelly to come in and take some of the load off of him so that he can be Ryan Day. And we are seeing who he really is. Coach Cignetti would have done the same exact thing in that situation. I guarantee it. I can almost guarantee he would have done the same exact thing. I did not think we should have taken a knee. I'm going to be honest. I know that's a little opposite of the way I believe. I'm a Jim Tressel guy through and through. Take the knee, get out of there. Have some respect for your opponent. I still think there's a ton of respect between both coaches. I really do. But Coach Cignetti knows that he put the target on his guy's back, right? And so the Buckeyes went out. They left no doubt, like Coach Day said, and now you're getting ready for the next week. This was also for this coming week, setting the tone for the type of mindset that we need to have for this game. We're not just trying to get out of here, survive, and advance. We want to go in leaving no doubt in this game so that the next week the team up north sees oh, okay, they're ready, right? And so those are things that are very important. There was an interview, I think it was Clemson played the Citadel. Somebody played the Citadel this week.
Yeah, I think it was Clemson.
And their head coach was approached at halftime by the referees to shorten the quarters in the second half to 10 minutes. And he said, absolutely not. No, our guys are going to come out here. We're going to fight like hell to win the third quarter, and we're going to fight like hell to win the fourth quarter. Does that mean we're going to win the game? No, but it means we're going to learn how to battle when things suck. Embracing the suck. When it sucks, this is where we learn how to battle. There's an element of that is lost in our culture today. And I'm not trying to get on a rant about that, but it's so true. I think people have to understand the world's not always going to be nice to you. They're not always going to be there people that are going to help you up, right? Sometimes you've got to go leave no doubt, right? Sometimes you got to keep swinging and have a Buster Douglas mentality when the odds are against you. And that sets the stage for the type of culture you want to have. So people can say it's Bush League. Okay. Coach Cignetti would have done the same thing. There was healthy respect at the end, shaking hands. There was no trash talk or anything like that. I just think Coach Day knows the mindset that they need to have going into this week. And that's why I'm more for it than I would ever be, because I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I guess here's the other thing I look at it. With the same people, i.e. the entire Indianapolis and Indiana media, have been mad if Trey scored.
No.
That's it. You can't have it both ways. But Ohio State was in a lose-lose with this game, and a lot of people are seeing that now. If you win, and you win convincingly like you did, well, it's just Indiana and they're not that good. Indiana's a pretty good ball club. But if you lose, oh my God, you lost to Indiana. You're not good.
Yep.
And you're starting to see all of the shifting and politicking and clamoring for different playoff scenarios. You saw Dabo start running his mouth about it being the Big Ten and the SEC invite. And you know what, Dabo? Just play better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as, diving into this week, it was a mindset thing. Good, bad, ugly. There's really not a whole lot we haven't hit on, but my first thing I do have for the good, the crowd.
Oh yeah.
I got
that
a
was
text.
going to be mine.
I got a text during the first quarter of the game from BG, season ticket holder, keeps it real. He goes, "This place is loud."
Yeah.
His section stood for the entire time, or the entire first quarter.
Yeah.
Bobby Carpenter commented on the crowd. It was just good to see them take notice of the players asking for it. Ross Bjork, asking for it. But it shouldn't come to that. I don't care if it's a noon game. I've gone to plenty of noon game where I've been lit. So if you need to drink to be loud, the Varsity Club opens at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is.
Just be smart, be safe, make good decisions.
Absolutely. And I was also like 26 at that time. And that was a Michigan game too. So it was allowed. We talked about the chip on the shoulder and the swagger. The swagger of the team. Will Howard is a dude.
Yeah, he is.
A lot of people didn't like him. You could read his lips. And I'll leave that, for the non-politically correct time of day. But I liked the coaching in this game. I think it was a happy mix of adjustments. We didn't really show a lot out of the bag. We made adjustments. I would have liked to have seen us ran tempo a couple of times because I think we could have ran them into the ground. The pass rush, those guys were disruptive.
They were.
Special teams, again, it's becoming a weekly thing. In my best Ryan Day voice, I'd like to know where Parker Fleming is right now. And then I think one thing that gets lost with this OSU team, you always hear coaches talk about the middle eight, which Ohio State refers to it as, it's supposed to be the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, first 4 of the third. Yep. But it's kind of, there's some room in there based on possessions. Heading into the middle eight yesterday, it was a 7-7 ball game. Coming out of the middle eight, it was 28-7.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, those things as a coach, those are the things that often get overlooked by some of the fans and the pundits and things like that, right? We may get out to a slow start, like you said, like that. Those things have happened, the last 4 or 5 weeks. I get that, but how do we end the first half and how do we begin the second half? Winning the third quarter in these type of games is paramount to establish yourself and to dominate in the third quarter the way that we did. It was that was the icing on the cake right there. And so that middle eight is just so vital. And I'm glad, that people are I hope people start paying attention to that, right? I know we just want to watch it as fans at times, but understand, like, hey, we may get off to a slow start, but how do we end the first half? How do we begin the second half? If we end the first half strong, begin the second half strong, we're going to be in a position to win the game, when the 4 quarters are up. And so that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. For me, the good, obviously the crowd, like you said, my father-in-law was at the game. He sent us a text in our group text and was like, listen, the stadium is rocking, right? It is rocking. And so, the crowd, kudos to you guys for coming out, stepping up. Like, that's the way the shoes should be every Saturday. It doesn't matter who we're playing, what time we're playing. Like you said, it needs to be rocking all the time. Coach Signetti even said they had to go to a silent count. And once you go to a silent count, because Ohio State had not had the loudest crowd, Coach Signetti got some intel from people that he trusted that said, you won't need to do this. It's not going to be that loud there. And so that leads me to believe that they really didn't spend a lot of time practicing it because they weren't expecting the crowd to be that crazy. And so he said it was a huge factor. And so shout out to the 12th man. You know, they really took care of business for the Buckeyes. The next good for me, you know, I am a defensive guy. Defense wins games, defense wins championships. If our defense continues to play like this, we will have a chance to win every game we play from here on out. And not just win, to potentially dominate from here on out. The defensive line, the creative, side of things when it comes to the stunts and the pressures, the mixing up of the coverages, the belief in the guys to go out there and play so much man coverage. It's a fun thing to watch when the defense is clicking like that, and it was awesome. Cody Simon, unreal. Like I don't even have words for him. How was he not starting the last 3 years? Like not a knock on anybody else we've had, but this dude he's special, man, and he's playing out of his mind right now. So those are the big good things that stood out for me. Special teams, obviously. Shout out to Coach Keys, getting the guys ready to go on special teams, especially the punt return team. But yeah, those are the big things that stood out for me as the good.
Yeah, so speaking of Cody Simon, I got a text yesterday from a Michigan fan during the game. I know it took Cody Simon about a decade to get on the field, but I love him, and he's a dog. And that's big, coming from this guy who is a massive Michigan fan.
Yeah, well, it took their whole team last year a decade to get on the field, and that's what it took to win a national championship. So.
Right. So I'm going to combine my bad and ugly for the most part. Slow starts. I'm not even going to talk about that. I don't really want to rag on Jelani Thurman, but he's got to get his hands under control. For as big of a freak athlete as this guy is, that dude is a monster of a man.
He's huge, man.
So I get the hands not being soft, but hit the jugs machine, my guy.
Yeah.
Will Howard, that throw was questionable anyway with that much traffic around him. Excuse me. IGBPIs, we talked about that. So I guess these last two are probably the ugliest of the discussion. Can we please quit being Urban Meyer and going in the shotgun on short distance? I understand that, it's picking up speed that people are referring to Will Howard as the white JT Barrett. But, Quinshawn didn't stand a chance on that short yardage, goal to go play.
Yeah.
And then the entire, is it Gene McGinn? His crew is atrocious.
Yeah.
You even heard Klatt and Joel talk about how they tend to get a little flag happy, and it tends to normally lean one way or the other. The blocks in the back, very, very suspect. And I thought Klatt did a great job of describing it, though. Because now one of them they got because of the footing in the shoe. The lineman or the defender slipped, and it looked like he got hit harder than he did. They've got to get it under. It wasn't a good day for officials all around the country. Alabama got hosed out of a touchdown based on a call I've never seen in my life, and I've watched a lot of football, let alone he was not covered up.
Yeah. You couldn't pay me enough to be an official. There's just no way I would ever enjoy doing that. For me, the bad / the ugly, IGB, we just got to be better, man. I mean, we've got to be better. You're one of the best corners in the country. Like, I need you to come out next week and lock down whoever you're on, find a way to get a pick, and let's have a game where we don't have a pass interference. Like, that would be or defensive holding. That would be phenomenal. That's really the only like bad or ugly that I have. The officiating, yeah, was not the best, but that's like I said, you couldn't pay me enough to be an official. So IGB definitely not the greatest. And then my guy Tegra, Tegra is a good player, man. I have high expectations for him, and so I wanna see him really ball out, and so we're gonna need him to be locked in this week and have a good week because he's gonna have, he's gonna have some dudes lining up against him. So he's going to need to be locked in. So those are the only things I would consider like bad.
I will be interested, and I don't remember what exactly I read. Oh, I think it was about Loveland, that there was some stuff going on in the locker room yesterday. Will
Really?
Johnson's not playing.
Yeah.
We know that. At what point do the rest of these dudes make a business decision? I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope Kenneth Grant and what's the other Mason
Graham.
Grant? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they play because that's only going to make our O-line earn it.
Yeah.
But Michigan, who got some good news this week, but lost in all of this is, they got a whole nother set of issues coming down the tracks. I believe yesterday was the day to reply to the NOA. I don't know how quickly we will hear anything because they are stonewalling public information requests.
Yeah.
I know somebody who filed the proper paperwork and was told it would be $150 fee and it's going to be like 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
But yeah, one thing on IGB, and I laughed when I saw this notion, but then it made my wheels spin. Somebody was like, we need to put IGB in mittens so that he can't hold. Think back to the guy we've compared IGB to. Damon Arnett played with a broken hand.
Yeah.
I may or may not have the cast in my room. But when Damon Arnett played with one hand, he didn't get penalized like he was known to do. Kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I will tell you this. IGB in practice does practice with mittens. I mean, that is something that and not just him, other DBs too, but the multiple practices I've been to, he has had mittens on for a lot of practice. And so that is something that they are very cognizant of. IGB just needs to be the one that is taking care of business out on the field. So yeah. But hey, if it works, man, whatever. Just lock everybody up and we'll have to worry about it.
So I took a page out of your book this week because the offense didn't do anything crazy. I do have some Buckeye leaves, and we have some bullets.
Okay.
Buckeye leaves. I'm going to go with Will Howard. I mean, I don't know what else you say. At this point, I tweeted this yesterday. I'm not saying that Will Howard deserves to win the Heisman because Travis Hunter deserves to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
But Will Howard absolutely deserves to be in New York City. If Dylan Gabriel deserves to be there, if Cam Ward deserves to be there, Will Howard deserves to be there. I mean, like I said, it's a 2-horse race at this point, Travis and Ashton. And I think Travis should win by a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Ryan Day one because he has got this team playing fast, loose, and aggressive. And like we've talked about multiple times, the swagger, that's contagious. Ryan Day basically let the world know yesterday, I give no Fs, at this point on.
Got nothing to lose, man.
Right. It's Ohio against the world all day, every day.
Yeah.
And then silver bullets, obviously Cody Simon gets one.
Yep.
I'm going to give one to your guy, CJ Hicks, because, and this isn't a defensive play, the block that CJ Hicks had on the play that my third recipient, Mr. Downs, gets, made the play.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we went this whole episode and didn't even talk about Caleb.
No.
That's why he returns punts.
Yeah.
But there's also some growing steam on social media and such. At what point does Ohio State start using Caleb next year like Travis?
Yeah, I mean, heck, it's going to be his last year, so I might as well. I mean, I would not be opposed to that for sure because he's a dog. And then you turn on the TV and you see his brother out there for the Colts making play after play.
Balling.
So yeah,
Balling.
it was an athletic family.
Well, and I didn't realize, I forgot that Dad played.
Yeah.
For the Falcons. So
Yep. All right. So for me, Buckeye leaves. I'm going to give one to the guy we were just talking about, Caleb Downs. I don't think he had his best game defensively, but he still found a way to impact the game. And that is something that elite players always find a way to do. I mean, the spin move on the punt return, like that was, just bodily awareness. Like that was really good, man. And that was, such a huge play. Stadium's going nuts, and you can see how pumped the guys were for them. The camera was on him. You can tell the camera's on him. He's talking, but he's still locked in. Like, okay, that's cool, but I still got to lock in because I got to go back out there. So Caleb Downs gets my Buckeye leave. Emeka Ibuka. I cannot go. I was just looking at the stats, and I well, before we get off here, I got a bunch of stats I want to go over for this season because it's just really cool. But he had 4 games where he didn't have over 40 yards receiving in a row, and so to come out to play the way he did, he had 80 yards receiving. He's taken a complete backseat to JJ, and he's done it with just such grace. And he's such a good receiver. Like, he's so special. He still has a chance. Right now he's at 692 yards receiving. He's still got a chance to be in that 800, 850 range, which is still really freaking good. And so, he gets my other Buckeye leave. And then, you already took my silver bullet with Cody Simon, but I'm going to give one to Coach Knowles, man. He was, like I said, he was cooking, and it was so much fun to see, the different schemes, just to see the offense be overwhelmed. I mean, Curtis Rourke, as well as he's played, he's threw for 68 yards. Like, that is just mind blowing in a game where they were down, and so they had to throw the ball, and they still struggled to do that. And so, shout out to Coach Knowles, man. But yeah, those are my Buckeye leaves and my silver bullets for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, that kind of wraps up Indiana and officially puts us in hate week mode. In the words of LL Cool J, it's time for war. That's my tradition. As soon as the game is over on Saturday before the game, I play that song. And you're gonna find out this week why that song is such a big part of Hate Week.
Okay. All right.
We've got some special stuff. I don't want to spill it yet. I like to leave the suspense out there.
Yeah.
So, I did put it on socials. You're going to see us 4 times this week, but actually we decided today you're going to see us 5.
Yeah.
As soon as we get done here, we're going to bust out a little recruiting episode for you guys because there's a lot of stuff going on that front.
Yeah.
So as always, thank you guys for the support. Thank you to Chris at the barn, Jake at Cornerstone. You guys are rock stars. We are thrilled to have you guys along. Shout out to everybody for the support. And we look forward to bringing you guys an awesome hate